What's up guys, Luke here with Luke's Points and Miles, and today I'm going to do a fun video, but I need your help. Today you're going to rate my cashback setup that I'm going to be using in April. Now, most of my videos are about the travel side of things, and a lot of you guys know that I'm in this game to provide experiences not only for myself, but for my family. And I use points and miles for all kinds of travel, from domestic economy trips to international business class flights, and everything in between. I'm not on a silly team. I'm just in the credit card game. But if you follow my channel, you know that I sprinkle in some cash back now and then when the time seems right. And April seems right. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the cashback setup I'm going to be using for the entire month of April. And this may go into May up until I go on my European vacation. I'd like some of you experts in the field to rate this setup. But before you rate the setup, let me explain. I use travel rewards 90% or more. So my cashback cards need to fit in a certain box. I only do 0 annual fee cards, and they're mostly for only one category. So anything less than 5% probably won't be of any interest to me. So before I get into this, slap that like button, and if you want consistent credit card content, consider subscribing. Now let's get started. I'm just going down the list here that I have for what I'm going to be using, and I will warn you, some of these are obscure credit unions or regional banks, and if that's the case, I'll try to give you a little information on it so it'll make more sense. Also, this setup will not be used while I'm at the Sea Mist Resort in Grand Cayman. For that trip, I'll be using a travel heavy setup and spending as much as possible at the resort on my IHG Premier Business Card. I've heard from some of you guys that everything is expensive there, so I should earn plenty of IHG points. First things first, I eat a lot, so we will need a decent dining card. In April setup, I'm going to be using the Citi Custom Cash for dining. This one gets the call because, as most of you know, the Citi Custom Cash earns 5 times thank you points on your highest spending category for the statement period. The basic strategy is to use the card for only one category for the month, and the superpower is you can switch that category each month. The thank you points can be transferred out to partners if you hold the Citi Premier, but Citi also gives you the option to cash them out at 1 cent per point. So for this setup and this exercise, this one is 5% cash back on dining up to $500. If we go over that, I'll adjust fire. Guys, if you are interested in more information on any of these cards, check out my super cool organized card link in the description below. Using my link definitely supports the channel, and it allows me to deliver you mostly unsponsored content. If you have used my link in the past, then I sincerely thank you. We do have 2 drivers in my home, so we spend on gas. Gas isn't exactly a huge expense, but it is consistent enough to have its own card for this cashback setup. And for gas, I'll be using the Abound Federal Credit Union Platinum Card. This card will give us 5% cash back on gas. For those of you that are curious, Abound Federal Credit Union is a small credit union in Kentucky. I learned about it from watching Josh Butler's YouTube channel. He makes great content, so I jumped through the hoops joining the credit union and eventually got the card. Dealing with some of these smaller credit unions is quite an experience. Other than the gas bonus, I really don't know much about the card, and the only thing I use it for are these cashback injections. One of my largest expenses in my budget is groceries, and in my opinion, I think I found the best cashback option for me for this category. For groceries, I'll be using the AAA Visa Signature. This card is one of the more underrated cards in the entire game. The card earns 5% cash back on groceries, and that's capped at $10,000 annually. That's a pretty high cap for a 5% cash back card. So this one is an extremely valuable card for me. Utilities is a category so many of us overlook, and some of us probably don't even use a credit card to pay them. I use the US Bank Cash Plus card, and I get 5% cash back on all my utilities. Electric bill, gas, water, trash, all 5%. And that cash back can really add up. It's also really easy to set up auto pay, and I never really have to worry about these utilities. The US Bank Cash Plus actually earns 5% cash back on 2 categories of your choosing with a $2,000 max per quarter. Right now, I'm using this one for utilities and electronics stores with Best Buy being a good example. The next one of these cards, not many folks know about. See, US Bank has the Cash Plus, but Elon Financial is a company owned by US Bank, and Elon administers the credit card programs for hundreds of local and regional banks and even smaller credit unions, and they issue a clone of the Cash Plus. When I found this out, I opened a checking account with a regional bank close to me called Park National. I applied for their version of the Cash Plus, which is called the Max Cash Preferred. Same basic scheme. For this card, I have the category set for entertainment and recreation. Entertainment for me is concerts and sporting events, and I pay my season tickets with this. Recreation includes a lot of stuff like gyms and even sporting goods stores. I have a growing boy that loves sports, so I'm in there getting baseball cleats, basketball shoes, and by the time football comes around, he's grown out of his football cleats. It comes in handy because I think my Bengals tickets are like $2,500 or so, and I pay that on a monthly basis. Not $2,500 monthly, but you get what I'm saying. Amazon purchases obviously go on my Amazon Prime card. Not much to say on this one. 5% cash back when I shop at the Evil Empire. The next two cards have multiple categories. One of the most powerful cards, in my opinion, is the Chase Ink Cash Card. This card earns 5 times UR points, or in this case, 5 times cash back on cell phone bills, my internet and cable bill, and I pay my insurance with this card indirectly. I'll give you an example of how I use it. My car insurance is coming up in April, and the way I handle my business is I pay for 2 cars for 6 months at a time, so this comes to around $1,000. And how I do this, I go to Staples when they have Visa or MasterCard debit cards on sale with no activation fee, and I'll buy a few $100s worth of those. Purchases at Staples earn 5 times UR points or 5% cash back. It's a nice way to earn some cash back instead of putting those expenses on a 2% cashback card. So when you're using the Ink Cash this way, you have the potential for a ton of earnings. Finally, we have maybe 2 most important categories for a lot of us. The everything else category and the travel category. For this, I'm going to be using the Navy Federal Flagship card. I'll explain why. Normally, the Navy Federal Credit Union Flagship card earns 3% on travel and 2% cash back on everything else. Now, that doesn't sound super exciting, but apparently I've been with Navy Federal for 25 years now, and they sent me an offer that will bump my earnings by 2%. That will make the card, at least during the month of April, 5% cash back on travel and 4% back on everything else. That sounds like a great deal to me, and I can simplify that even further, and I'll use the Flagship card for everything that doesn't have a 5% card attached to it. Okay guys, please comment below, what do you think about this setup? This is a setup that I will be using intermittently, and I think I may turn on the cashback faucet every 3 months or so. I personally like to collect some cash back to throw into my travel fund, and I really like this setup. I also maintain this setup for when life just gets too busy. If there comes a time when I'm not traveling for a few months, then I'm not going to earn travel points. I don't want my travel points ever sitting collecting dust. The cash can be spent on anything, including travel. So guys, just a reminder, check out my super cool card link in the description below. And if you have stayed around all the way to the end, I thank you and I appreciate every single one of you.